Hi, I'm Dr. Lili Sussman, and I'm a coach. I coach CEOs and their leadership teams in order to unlock hypergrowth. I'm currently the chair of the advisory board at Financy, which is an incredible organization whose purpose is to increase gender economic equality. And Financy publishes the Women's Index, which is the most robust and largest publication that measures gender economic inequality in Australia. It comes out every quarter. And in thinking about women's financial equality and women's health, there is so much to say on this subject. We know that we live in a patriarchal society. We know that the systems are highly unequal. And that means that as individual women, there's a lot for us to not only understand and try and change the system, but also in our own individual ways, in our own individual lives, create acts of rebellion against the patriarchal system in a way that is actually not about fighting and not about anger, but actually about paving the way for us and the next generation. And in a way that's uplifting and that is personal. So financial health for women, to me, is a very personal subject because each of us has a relationship with money, just like we do with time, energy, health, the other really big resources in life. And managing money like we would any other really critical resource we have in life and thinking about it is something that is important for everyone, and it is important in different ways for everyone. So the search for financial security and for financial empowerment is very much an individual emotional journey, and one that women can take charge of, even in the context of systemic inequality. We're waking up to the fact that women often manage the household finances. And they're often very on top of things and have a more detailed view of what's going on. But I think that women aren't encouraged enough and don't take the time enough to really sit back and think about themselves. What do we want out of life? And how can money be a resource for us to do that? The price of unhappiness and not being in tune with our emotions and with our true selves is so, so high, and that's actually the bedrock of financial health as much as it is our mental health and our physical health. So for me, financial health starts with being healthy with yourself. And many women, because of our caring responsibilities, because of the weight we carry in our families, at work, we're so busy running around taking care of everyone else that we don't sufficiently take the time and the effort to become more skillful at taking care of ourselves. And that starts to cause a massive drain on our financial health. And decisions that we're making all along the way, including in our 20s, 30s, 40s, so on, of not prioritizing our own emotional development and our own emotional health have massive ramifications on our financial health down the road, including all the way up to retirement. So on Super, I really love Super because it's the government's way of forcing us to save for retirement, which is brilliant because we have to do it, and so it's being done for us. But I think what people sometimes fail to take advantage of is the fact that if we max out our concessional contributions up to the top, which is typically above what our employer pays, it is essentially doubling our savings because of the tax rate, right? It's taxed at around half the rate that our normal income might be taxed at. So it's really doubling our savings. So that's a great way to save, just for the future you. And so, when I think about what a young person can do, what I wish someone had told me in my 20s, it's very important to know the financial literacy guidance, which is invest early, keep investing, and pay yourself first. That's very important. However, that's not enough. It's the layer on top of, okay, so I have these frameworks. I know I'm meant to save and I'm meant to invest. And maybe I even get savvy and learn about things like concessional contributions so that I can contribute more to my super fund at such a discounted tax rate, it's really like doubling my savings. So let's say I've been savvy and I've learned about that. But how do I actually have a relationship and use money and decide how to earn money and how much to earn and what choices I make and what to spend it on in a way that actually makes me happy in the longer term? And that is money not as a resource over here on the side that's separate from my life. You know, many people think, I don't need to make that much money. I don't want to. I don't care about money. Or I really do. But they're still thinking about it as money separate from life, as opposed to money is just like health or like energy and time. And what do I want to use? How do I want to use it in my life? And how can I use it in a way that helps me develop into the person I want to be, right? All the people that are interested in financial independence, retire early, the FIRE movement, they want that for freedom. And they want freedom to live a fulfilling life because it's all about living a fulfilling life. And we can't have a financially healthy future without asking ourselves the hard questions around what is a fulfilling life for me? And it sounds like a big question. It sounds like a hard question to answer. But there's so much work and exploratory work we can actually do to cultivate that. The first layer, just to understand where your money goes, is seeing your own behavior. When do you feel triggered to spend? And very often it is boredom or it's emotional pain of some sort. Some kind of stress, anxiety, boredom, that can trigger a lot of spending that's not nourishing and fulfilling. It's more of a numbing behavior. So just noticing your own behavior chain. What emotions and thoughts trigger you to spend? And can you substitute that with something else? So for example, I might mindlessly scroll online shopping on my way home from work, right? On the train, it's just a habit that I have and it's quite mindless. I do it because it's, I don't know, just a way of de-stressing, it's a habit I've cultivated. But is that really the best way of alleviating boredom? Maybe I'd feel better if I listened to an amazing song instead, or discovered a new song, or just called a friend. It might fulfill the same emotional needs, but notice all your reflexive habits. That's the first layer. Get familiar with yourself and your habits and where your money's going. So the second layer is mindset and catching yourself and investigating, what do I actually think about different areas of money and just money in general? What do I think about it? And where do these beliefs come from? And do they need to be a bit more flexible? Where do I not know and where could I learn some more? I think we fall into the trap of black and white thinking a lot. House prices are so high and it's so common to feel like I can't afford a house and so I just give up. It's very black and white. It's like, I'm all in, I do this, or I don't do anything. And it's not like that, right? Because life is a constant stream of choices. And so having that psychological flexibility of not constantly going back and forth between black and white, but cultivating nuance and flexibility, that's the second layer. So the first layer, notice your behavior. Where's money going and what's triggering that? And second layer is, what are my beliefs that are probably quite black and white and really not helping me, right? They prevent me from exploring. They prevent me, they're telling me it's either this or that and you already know. It's premature closure. So I think all these things can hold women back. And then the third thing, which is probably the deepest, which is, how are my relationships, including my relationship with myself? How are my relationships with my partner and my closest circle? And that includes relationships, important people at work, and my relationship with myself, because the cost of unhealthy relationships is just the biggest financial cost we have in our lives. That can show up in very acute places, like in the event of a separation or someone gets sick and life triggers. That can show up then. Myself, 7 years ago, I was in an accident and it caused financial insecurity for me, right? But that actually also helped me develop more psychological flexibility because I was forced to. And it helped me take off golden handcuffs that I didn't know that I was wearing, and help me rethink what it is that I need to get out of life and how I can use money. So it isn't this sort of linear path, I just need more and more and more. It's actually having a much more deeper relationship with yourself and thinking about, okay, who do I want to be? And what kind of flexibility might I need in my career for that? How do I get a supportive environment around me, including, with my partner, with my kids? How do I develop the skills to have better conversations, to have better relationships? And how does that support actually enable me to look at money differently and be more flexible when it comes to earning, when it comes to spending? All of that requires a degree of self-exploration. And self-exploration is probably the most powerful thing we can do to build a healthy relationship with money, because we're building a healthy relationship with ourselves. So then our story about money starts getting anchored into, what are my values? What is my purpose or my growth edge for now? Where do I want to go next? And how can I use all the resources in my life, emotional support from here, my own resilience from here, the money that I save from here? How can I use all these things to build a healthy life, part of which is being financially healthy? So I know it sounds like, I'm integrating money with everything else in our lives, but it is very much integrated, because what are we using money for, right? And so I think one thing that I want to add when we're thinking about the behavioral layer of money is that it's actually sometimes helpful for me to think about and notice a different way of what things cost. Not just the price, but it's really what we have to do to get it. So for example, the average hourly wage in Australia is, I actually think it's in Sydney because it's a higher earning city. It's a more expensive city, as we all know. The average hourly wage is $44 an hour. And so that means that when I'm looking at something that costs, say, $120, whatever that is, a face cream, let's say, or shoes, or whatever it is, that means I have to think to myself, I have to work 3 additional hours for that. And I think about working in the future, because you'd have to earn it, right? And would I be willing to do that? So having a sense of your own hourly wage and thinking about, is it really worth it for me to put that work? Or is it's just a response to an emotional trigger like boredom that maybe I don't need this. I'd be just as happy doing something else. I'll find a substitute. So that's an interesting way of thinking about spending. But I think as we do the deeper work of aligning the role of money in our lives with our deeper values and who we want to be, that work, that emotional self-discovery work, really changes our relationship with money in a more fundamental way. And then there's the sort of managing everyday expenses layer. There's the what decisions and what level of wealth am I really striving for the kind of life that I want to lead layer. And even if you don't have a big answer to that, it's more, where's my growth edge next? We want to have the freedom to explore our growth edge, explore where our curiosity leads in terms of career, right? We don't want to have to be on one career wagon. That's a defunct and dead idea these days, that we're just going to necessarily stay in one thing for 30 years. We don't do that anymore. We want to have a rich and fulfilling career where we get to keep exploring our growth edge and keep pushing ourselves developmentally where we want to go. And how can we use money to do that? For some people, it may mean that we don't decide to take out as big a mortgage, right? We choose this over that. And that's what matters. But it's hard to make those choices without doing some self-discovery work and thinking about what matters to you. What I wish my younger self had known is that it really pays for my financial future to do the emotional work. And If I had known that if I had $1,000 and I would have spent it on a couple of new dresses, or I would have spent it on a weekend away, I could have spent it on therapy. And I know that sounds disconnected, it's solving for different problems, but had I unlocked all the things that were emotionally holding me back from becoming the person I wanted to be, from having the careers I wanted, from being successful in the way that I wanted on my own terms, wow, that $1,000 spent on therapy is the best possible investment in me as a person, in my financial health, and my financial future. And I say that to women at any age, people at any age. So doing the emotional work, that is a great investment, because by doing that, you build a healthy relationship with yourself, you build a healthy relationship with everyone around you, then you build that support network that lets you soar to new heights, and your career and your finances all gets into flow, and they all benefit. And so the core of the work is actually the work on ourselves. That's the biggest thing we can do to unlock our own financial health.